We're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
It is providing a safe place to sleep for teens who have already been through so much.
They're either experiencing homelessness, exploitation.
The new youth housing now open in the East Bay, how it's providing new beginnings. Plus, a surge in e-bikes in the Tri-Valley leading to safety concerns for kids who ride them to school.
They're not walking anymore. They're not even taking traditional bicycles anymore.
The trick they're using to turn e-bikes into speed machines, and the local duo trying to pump the brakes. And you've probably seen her sculptures. We're going to talk to the artist behind these giant hearts about her love letter to San Francisco.
I love that it's just a place that a lot of people can just come and be themselves.
Thanks for joining us this Thursday. I'm Ann Makovic, and we are following some developing stories this morning. Let's get right to our headlines. 2 people killed in a fiery head-on crash in Contra Costa County. The CHP says 2 vehicles crashed in the westbound lanes just east of Brentwood near Balfour Road. One of the vehicles, an electric SUV, was fully engulfed in flames by the time crews got there just after 10 last night. And because the SUV was electric, crews had to bring out hazmat teams. 1 person in each vehicle died. Several people are dead after a small plane crashed into several homes. This was in San Diego, an intense scene as flames spread across the neighborhood early this morning. Emergency crews are working to contain any jet fuel and make sure that everyone who lives in this neighborhood is safe. It happened in the area of Terra Santa, just miles from a nearby airport. Just before 4 a.m., authorities say that crash set about 15 homes on fire with burning jet fuel, prompting evacuations. They're describing these homes as military homes. Officials say so far the fatalities are only from people on board the plane. According to the FAA, the model of plane is a Cessna 550, which can carry up to 8 people. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board are investigating this crash. 2 Israeli embassy employees shot and killed in D.C., police calling it a targeted attack. The suspected shooter was arrested at the scene. The victims have been identified as Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, embassy staff employees who were set to be engaged.
Sarah was a beautiful soul that was taken away from us brutally this morning. She had a great future, an amazing future ahead of her.
He had an enormous ability to study. He was very kind, quiet person. He was what we call him mensch, real human being, smiling, and students, like the perfect students, the kind of student you want to have.
The couple killed as they left the Capitol Jewish Museum last night. The museum is near the FBI's field office and less than a mile from the Capitol. The agency says it is investigating the motive and the suspect's possible ties to terrorism.
He reaches into his bag and pulls out a keffiyeh and says, "I did it. I did this for Gaza." And just starts shouting "Free Palestine," and that's when the police came in and arrested him.
He just ran up. It was terrible.
A suspect has been identified as 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez from Chicago. A witness capturing the chaotic scene outside the museum as Rodriguez was taken into custody.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
Witnesses told police that Rodriguez was seen pacing outside the museum before he approached a group of 4 people and opened fire. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered increased security at Israeli missions around the world. Israel's ambassador to the U.S. says he spoke with President Trump. The president posting on social media, hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA, and he offered condolences to the families of the victims. Governor Newsom posting this as well, writing in part, anti-Semitism has no place in the U.S. or anywhere. It must be condemned in the strongest terms. President Trump's budget bill one step closer to becoming law. It passed the U.S. House by just 1 vote after weeks of intense negotiations. That bill makes Trump's 2017 tax cuts permanent. It also cuts taxes on tips and overtime. To pay for it, it cuts spending on food stamps and slashes nearly $700 billion from Medicaid. That bill now heads to the Senate, where several Republicans have voiced opposition. A reprieve for after-school programs in Oakland. The school board has now voted to reverse a recent resolution that would have cut funding at least in half. Board members had voted earlier to freeze $29 million, affecting between 50 and 80% of after-school programs. But after an outcry from working parents who depend on those programs for their children, the board reversed course last night.
So many cuts to social services and social safety net programs across the board that the schools are sort of the last thing we have left, if you will, and to see something like this be on the table for cuts, just you just kind of don't know like what next or where's it going to stop.
School board members are still looking for ways to close a $70 million budget deficit. All right, let's get a check on our first alert forecast this Thursday. Here is meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Yesterday was a warm day for us here in the Bay Area. Today, we're still getting that influence, but not nearly as much. I'm going to pull up the map and show you a couple things going on for us. Yesterday, we were in the 90s over in Antioch. Today, we're down into the low 80s. So a 10-degree difference within a 24-hour period. And we're actually noticing that widespread throughout most of our inland spots. Santa Rosa is another good example, sitting in the 70s today. We were in the 80s there yesterday. So we're all noticing this day-by-day cooling trend as we creep closer to the weekend forecast. Now, we were above average yesterday, and it was definitely noticeable into the Santa Clara Valley where we were sitting in the 80s. We're back into the 70s this afternoon, and we're continuing this cooling trend as we head closer to this weekend's forecast as low pressure moves in from the north. Now, another thing to say, too, earlier this morning we were dealing with some pretty breezy conditions along our shoreline. Those are going to start to ramp up even more, closer to around 35-mile-per-hour winds up into Bodega Bay. San Francisco topping off into our lunchtime hours, close to around 30-mile-per-hour winds, too. And we hold on tight to those breezy conditions in some inland spots into the evening hours tonight. It is a dry day for us today, though, and it's continuing to be a dry week for us as we head into this weekend and early next week. Small day-to-day changes are expected, and we're not expecting a drop of rain in sight. However, we are going to see cooler weather around the corner. As we head into this weekend, at least by tomorrow, heading all the way into our Sunday setup, we jump to the low 70s in our inland areas. And we're going to hold on tight to cloudier skies and cool weather as we head into early next week with a little bit of a midweek warm up as early as next Tuesday. Now you head over into the Bay. It's a similar trend, just a little bit cooler weather, of course. We're talking about 60s today, upper 60s with sunny skies, which is really nice for our friends over in Oakland, San Francisco, just a little bit cooler across the Bay Bridge. But we're all going to cool down into the low 60s, diving into our Sunday forecast with a bit of a warm up next week, too.
Well, people who take BART can expect to pay a little more in the future. Today, the Transit Agency's Board of Directors expected to vote on raising fares as it tries to keep up with inflation. Our Veronica Macias talked with passengers in Daly City.
First, a couple weeks ago, there was a computer networking problem that took down the entire system for BART. No trains were running. Then there were service disruptions after a fire at the San Leandro BART station. So we're asking people here at the Daly City BART station whether or not a fare increase is just that, fare. However, BART says that they are facing a major budget deficit and have to implement these fare increases in order to prevent cutting service. Increases, though, have been implemented every 2 years since 2004. By January of next year, though, it's scheduled to take a 6.2% increase. So serious service cuts could be looming for BART if it does not increase its prices. Still, a BART survey found that the majority of low-income riders are against the increases. Those who support the increase say paying more is better than seeing any cuts to service. Of course, the deficit caused by the loss of ridership, which became a very big problem during the pandemic. This morning, we're finding people who say they're hardworking, low income, and rely on BART to get around, taking it to and from work, and even the smallest changes for them can add up. Still, some people say they understand the need to raise those prices, still miss the days when BART was more reliable to get around.
My thought is that BART should not go up on their fares. There's a lot of things that is wrong with BART. They need to fix it. So my belief is that BART should not go up in fares.
When we had riderships before the COVID pandemic, when it caused a delay due to BART tracks or whatever is going on, they provide buses. But the ridership has been so low now that they don't provide shuttles anymore. So people have to find alternate routes.
An analysis report, which was federally required, showed that a 6.2% increase would not disproportionately impact or be a burden on low-income and minority riders. Also, BART, along with other transit agencies, are depending on a tax measure on the November ballot that will help them with their budget shortfalls.
The proposed fare hike would mark the third year in a row that BART fares have gone up. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, new rooms with new beds. The safe space for teens in the East Bay who have already been through so much.
They're either experiencing homelessness, exploitation.
Plus, a surge in e-bikes in the Tri-Valley. Why police worry they're becoming too easy for kids to turn them into speed machines. And we're going to introduce you to a Chinese-American graphic designer and illustrator who's honoring both her culture and her city.
Being an Asian American in SF is definitely something you can be proud of, and you don't have to feel ashamed.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Even though it's another warm day for us today here in the Bay Area, nothing compares to what we dealt with just yesterday. Yesterday we were in the 90s and 80s, widespread throughout the East Bay and the Santa Clara Valley. Today we're back into the 70s, and we hold on tight to the 70s heading into this weekend's forecast, where we continue to cool down into the low 70s by Sunday with cloudy skies, and then we're back up into the mid 70s into early next week. You make your way over into the Bay, well, same trend, just a little bit cooler when it comes to the temperatures. We'll cool down by Sunday, warm back up into next week.
There is a new safe space in Oakland for teenagers who are homeless or have been exploited. The new youth home just opened with the hope of providing new beginnings. Our Suji Nam gives us a look inside.
All right, So welcome to Phoenix Rising Youth Home.
It's a new chapter for restorative pathways.
2 floors, and right now you're seeing our top floor, which is meant for girls who are coming in through the city of Oakland. They're either experiencing homelessness, exploitation.
CEO Sephora Atchison says Phoenix Rising Youth Home in Oakland has 12 beds to provide critical shelter.
It was really important to us picking the decor because we wanted it to feel like home. We want it to be bright.
Restorative Pathways provides housing and resources for victims of domestic violence and human trafficking. This youth home will serve those between the ages of 12 and 18.
West Coast Children's Clinic has done quite a bit of research, and they're showing that 1 in 7 youth that walk through their doors are showing signs of exploitation. The trauma numbers are even higher.
Oakland police say the department's Child Exploitation Investigative Unit works an average of 1,500 cases a year. Dozens of those youth who have been removed from the streets are now in Phoenix Rising.
We have an open kitchen where staff are able to cook with them.
Atchison says there will be 24/7 staffing at the home with case managers, therapists, and peer advocates.
Hey, sir, how you doing?
And staff like Justin Luke Riley, who once lived in a homeless shelter, will make sure those who walk through these doors will be protected.
Restorative Pathways offers young individuals like me when I was 19 years young, looking for a safe place, a healthy place, and a place that was rich, full of resources.
And for Atchison, her goal is to help them heal and build that trust, to connect them with more permanent housing.
We will answer the door, we will bring you in, we will get you, a bed to sleep in, and help is there.
Being that helping hand in this new beginning.
California's efforts to phase out gas-powered cars have hit a roadblock. The Senate just voted to revoke several of the state's emission standards. Those rules set stricter guidelines than federal regulations. That includes California's EV mandate to require all newly sold cars to be zero emission by 2035. Democrats are expected to challenge that ruling in court. Police in the East Bay are cracking down on e-bikes. A UCSF study last year found the number of e-bike injuries across the country essentially doubled every year from 2017 to 2022. So that's why police departments in 5 cities in the Tri-Valley plus the East Bay Regional Parks District banded together for a crackdown on unsafe riding. Our John Ramos explains why police are focusing their efforts on local schools.
The e-bike revolution is happening quickly, and if you want to know how quickly, all you have to do is take a visit to your local middle school.
I didn't know how many bikes would be here, but I knew they'd be up.
When the school bell rings at Stone Valley Middle School, the kids head for home. But when it comes to how they get there, times have changed.
They're not walking anymore. They're not even taking traditional bicycles anymore. Now they're taking electronic bikes and scooters.
The electric, or e-bike, has taken Stone Valley by storm. And on this day, local bike safety advocates Alan Kalin and Bruce Bilodeau were welcomed in to take account of the number and types of e-bikes in the school's bicycle rack area. The change has been pretty astounding.
I was here in February and counted 51 electric motorcycles known as e-motos. Today, there are 70. That's only in 3 months.
How many regular bikes are here?
12.
12 regular bikes.
Kalin says this is no longer a bike rack. It's now a parking lot.
E-bikes are amazing. They really are. But these are not e-bikes. These are not e-bikes. These are electric motorcycles, and there is a difference. They weigh anywhere from 80 to 100 pounds. They will go from 20 to 35 miles an hour depending on how you modify it.
Class 2 e-bikes are the most popular with a top speed of 20 miles per hour and as a result can be ridden at any age without a license. But the speed limit on many of them can be remotely raised or eliminated altogether through an online app.
The classes are dependent as far as their top speed goes, but then when they modify them, they go from 20 miles an hour to up to 50 miles an hour.
Captain Miguel Campos is with the Dublin Police Department. On this day, they joined other nearby departments for an e-bike safety enforcement day, issuing 36 warnings and 12 citations for reckless riding.
We just did it in the morning. We're going to focus till after school. During the summertime, we're going to ramp that up because now kids are going to be out of school, so they're going to be riding these vehicles all hours of the day.
But back at the middle school, Bilodeau says he's not sure how they can even enforce the current rules when the bikes can be modified so easily.
Yes. And that class 2 then becomes meaningless. So as an enforcement issue for a policeman, he comes up and sees a kid riding this. It's a class 2. He can't enforce anything. So they don't enforce it, and neither can the schools. So, you know, what do you do? And what Al and I are hoping to do is to take that class 2 and say kids under 16 should not be riding class 2, period.
That's a growing sentiment, banning throttle-controlled bikes for anyone under 16.
They do look fun, but you know, you get a kid with a throttle on a street, you're asking for trouble. I mean, you know, kids need to know what the consequences are, and they don't have a consequence gene when they're 12.
It wasn't long ago that e-bikes just helped you pedal. Now they've become full-fledged motorcycles, and lawmakers are racing to catch up to the technology, and they're probably having to go faster than 20 miles per hour to do it.
Well, the police captain says Dublin right now is working to draft local ordinances that would regulate how and where e-bikes can be operated. Still ahead. If you've ever walked around San Francisco's Union Square, you've probably seen one of her sculptures. We're going to meet the artist who left her heart in the city.
This heart here in Union Square is probably one of my proudest moments.
Never give up, baby.
A couple of things that are going to change as we head into the next couple days. Well, we'll see some more clouds rolling in heading into this weekend's forecast. We'll also see some gusty afternoons ahead of us too, kind of like what we're seeing today. We're already dealing with a breezy morning along our shoreline, Half Moon Bay up into San Francisco. We can see up to around 20 to 30 mile per hour winds into our lunchtime hours today. And we also noticed that onshore breeze influencing our inland areas too, from Napa all the way over into the Tri-Valley area, down into the Santa Clara Valley. We'll see the winds pick up just a bit more into this afternoon. Still clear skies though, and then we're also dealing with clear conditions. Our rainfall totals haven't really been too impressive this rainfall season. We're still dealing with dry skies as we head into the next 7 days. But let's pull up the next 7 days and talk about this a little bit. There's small day-to-day changes, but there are changes nonetheless. I mean, we're continuing to cool down into this weekend's forecast. By Saturday, Sunday, we're already down into the low 60s. It's going to be a cool day for us on Sunday, but then we start to warm up a little bit more heading into mid-next week. At the same time, you head over into our inland spots. We're also seeing that similar trend. 70s today, upper 70s, I should say, down into the low 70s by Sunday's forecast. We're going to ditch the clouds as we head into mid-next week with that warm up right around the corner, but like I said, it is still a dry setup for us. Our rainfall averages are a little bit lower over into the East Bay and the Santa Clara Valley right now. We'll continue to keep a close eye on that as we head into the next 6 to 10 days.
As we celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we want to introduce you to a Chinese American artist whose work is featured in San Francisco. Our Mary Lee introduces us to the woman behind the city's iconic Heart Sculpture series and shares the inspiration for her work.
A lot of good memories.
Lori Chin is a second-generation Chinese American. Born and raised in San Francisco, her artwork reflects both her love for SF and her culture.
Being an Asian American in SF is definitely something you can be proud of, and you don't have to feel ashamed. And kind of your culture is everywhere.
Some of Lori's favorite memories are with her family in San Francisco's Chinatown. She even created a series of nostalgic designs featuring her favorite childhood Chinese snacks growing up.
Especially the Vitasoy. My grandpa used to take me and my brother to Chinatown, and we would always play at the playground, and for sure after he would take us to like one of those tiny little corner stores that is sadly no longer there, and he would go and let me and my brother both get a Vitasoy, and we would sit on like the stoop and wait for the bus together and just drink our Vitasoys.
It's not just Chinatown, but it's part of a city she calls home that means so much to her.
Everything about SF is just like special, at least to me, but maybe that's because I grew up here, but I love that it's just a place that a lot of people can just come and be themselves.
You could say Lori left her heart in San Francisco, designing 2 sculptures for the Hearts in San Francisco Public Art Project.
This heart here in Union Square is probably one of my proudest moments. You know, just growing up in San Francisco, you always see the cool art downtown, and just like everyone knows the hearts that are down in Union Square.
Lori's entire family is proud of her, especially her dad, who couldn't be prouder.
I remember when Lori had her beautiful heart displayed at Union Square. My wife and I would go there maybe every other week, and I would point out to people admiring the heart that my daughter painted that.
Lori and her dad took me to her former high school, Lowell, so I could see her second Heart of San Francisco sculpture.
I haven't been back to Lowell probably since I graduated, and I know there's been like quite a few changes.
Walking back into her old high school, Lori saw her heart sculpture celebrating diversity, proudly displayed in the main hallway.
What do you think when you're seeing this heart for the first time in years now?
I'm actually kind of surprised that it's in better condition than I thought. I thought for sure it would be maybe a little more messed up, but for the most part, it's pretty intact. And it makes me happy to see it. Each hand has its own unique design, but I love when they overlap and when they intersect with each other and just show that everyone has a connection. And I just love those things, just like being able to celebrate everyone's differences, but also celebrate our similarities.
Honoring both her culture and her city, Lori's artwork celebrates the beauty of diversity and unity, serving as a heartfelt love letter to her community, aiming to bring joy to the people and places that have shaped her into who she is today.
It's a nice day.
Lori's Welcome Home Heart Sculpture raised $50,000 for Zuckerberg General Hospital's ER. You can find all of our stories for AAPI Heritage Month on KPIX.com. And be sure to watch our special Legacy and Leadership tonight at 7:30 and Saturday night at 7. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, San Francisco's new speed cameras are already catching tens of thousands of drivers. We're going to take you to the intersection with the most violations and introduce you to a woman who has a front row seat.
It's a constant speed race, sir, and it's just constant chaos.
And do you have any travel plans coming up? If not, you're not alone. Why more people are choosing to skip vacations this year.
Unless someone springs it on me, we just plan on staying home this summer.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Ann Makovic, and here's another look at some of our news headlines. 2 people killed in a fiery head-on crash in Contra Costa County. The CHP says 2 vehicles crashed in the westbound lanes just east of Brentwood near Balfour Road. One of the vehicles, an electric SUV, was fully engulfed in flames by the time crews got there just after 10 last night. And because the SUV was electric, they had to bring out hazmat teams. 1 person in each vehicle died. Authorities say multiple people are dead after a small plane crashed into several homes in San Diego. This happened in the neighborhood of Murphy Canyon near Tierra Santa just before 4 this morning. So far, it's believed the fatalities are only from the people who were on the plane, nobody on the ground. Authorities say there are indications that 8 to 10 people might have been on board. And 2 Israeli embassy employees shot and killed in D.C. Police are calling this a targeted attack. The suspected shooter is in custody. The victims have been identified as Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram. They were said to be engaged. The suspect has been identified as 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez from Chicago. Law enforcement sources tell CBS News it is being investigated as a hate crime. Now let's get another check on our first alert forecast this Thursday. Here is meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Yesterday was a warm day for us here in the Bay Area. Today, we're still getting that influence, but not nearly as much. I'm going to pull up the map and show you a couple things going on for us. Yesterday, we were in the 90s over in Antioch. Today, we're down into the low 80s. So a 10-degree difference within a 24-hour period. And we're actually noticing that widespread throughout most of our inland spots. Santa Rosa is another good example, sitting in the 70s today. We were in the 80s there yesterday. So we're all noticing this day-by-day cooling trend as we creep closer to the weekend forecast. Now, we were above average yesterday, and it was definitely noticeable into the Santa Clara Valley where we were sitting in the 80s. We're back into the 70s this afternoon, and we're continuing this cooling trend as we head closer to this weekend's forecast as low pressure moves in from the north. Now, another thing to say, too, earlier this morning, we were dealing with some pretty breezy conditions along our shoreline. Those are going to start to ramp up even more, closer to around 35-mile-per-hour winds up into Bodega Bay. San Francisco topping off into our lunchtime hours, close to around 30-mile-per-hour winds, too. And we hold on tight to those breezy conditions in some inland spots into the evening hours tonight. It is a dry day for us today, though, and it's continuing to be a dry week for us as we head into this weekend and early next week. Small day-to-day changes are expected, and we're not expecting a drop of rain in sight. However, we are going to see cooler weather around the corner. As we head into this weekend, at least by tomorrow, heading all the way into our Sunday setup, we jump to the low 70s in our inland areas. And we're going to hold on tight to cloudier skies and cool weather as we head into early next week with a little bit of a midweek warm up as early as next Tuesday. Now you head over into the Bay. It's a similar trend, just a little bit cooler weather, of course. We're talking about 60s today, upper 60s with sunny skies, which is really nice for our friends over in Oakland, San Francisco, just a little bit cooler across the Bay Bridge. But we're all going to cool down into the low 60s, diving into our Sunday forecast with a bit of a warm up next week, too.
San Francisco's new speed cameras are already clocking a lot of bad behavior on the roadways. A whopping 31,000 warnings have been sent out last month alone. Those drivers were caught going at least 11 miles over the speed limit. Almost 44% of the violations came from an area that pedestrian advocates have long complained about on Fulton and Agrello near Golden Gate Park. Lauren Toms heard from one business owner who witnesses it on a daily basis.
It's a constant speed racer, and it's just constant chaos.
Tanya Odisho has a front row seat to speeding cars. Her floral shop on Arguello sits just 1 block away from the camera that's captured the highest number of speeding violations, 5 times more than any other camera in the city. And Tanya says she's not surprised.
Because they're heading down the hill at alarming rates, and who wants to be stuck at a light? Nobody. So I could see why.
Unshocking.
Not shocking at all.
The 2 speed cameras at 2nd and Fulton have seen 44% of the speed violations issued in just the first month of the pilot program out of the 21 locations currently online. One resident who asked to not share their name says the posted speed limit of 25 miles an hour is just unrealistic for the flow of traffic on a thoroughfare like Fulton. But Jody Medeiros with Walk SF says it's a necessary change to keep people safe, as the city has seen 6 traffic fatalities this year alone.
Drivers need to slow down because people's lives are at stake. These are moms that don't get to hug their child at the end of the day, or, never see their grandparent again. And these are real people's lives, and it could happen to anyone at any time.
Since the speed cameras first went online, SFMTA says it's issued more than 31,000 warnings to speeding cars in the month of April alone, breaking down to an average of 1,000 warnings a day. There are still 11 cameras that have yet to come online, but Shannon Hake with SFMTA says she was shocked to see the 5-figure number of warnings in just the first month. But the goal of the pilot program, she says, isn't to issue citations, but to change driver behavior.
If our program here in San Francisco is anything like any of the other programs in the rest of the country or in cities around the world, we're going to start to see really amazing behavior change in the coming weeks and months as these citations and warning notices are ending up in mailboxes and people are starting to really change their behavior and really slow down.
But Tanya isn't convinced the fines that range between $50 to $500, depending on the speed, will do enough to truly make her street safer.
We're all in a rush. I totally get it. But especially that we're so child dense and elderly dense in this neighborhood, we just have to take a minute and just slow down.
But she welcomes the camera as one step towards a safer city.
As Lauren mentioned, the city is still working to set up the cameras at 33 locations. They should all be up and running by early June. And then in August, actual citations will start to roll out, ranging from $50 to $500, depending on the speed. Southwest Airlines is issuing a new safety rule after a string of fires. Starting in a week, all portable chargers and battery packs will have to be taken out of any carry-on bags and will have to be used in plain sight. That way, if they happen to catch on fire, the crew will be able to respond right away. Southwest is the first U.S. airline to add the new policy. According to the FAA, there were 22 lithium battery incidents this year alone. That includes overheating, smoke, and fires. Millions of people going to be hitting the roads this Memorial Day. And for many, this might be their last outing before they hunker down for the summer. Joey Benedict explains why many are skipping summer vacations this year.
As we head into summer, many are already packing bags, dreaming of destinations unknown.
We just got back from Spain and had a great time there.
But at the Burbank airport, most admitted this may be their last flight before fall.
Not that I know of. Unless someone springs it on me, we just plan on staying home this summer.
And apparently, most travelers agree, as a new study by Bankrate shows less than half of Americans are planning a summer vacation.
If you go to the most popular places at the most popular times, it's going to be crowded and expensive.
Ted Rossman is a senior analyst for Bankrate. He says the reason people are saying no is simply cost.
Costs have definitely skyrocketed, and I feel like it is much more difficult to travel now than it was previously.
And it's not just a feeling. AAA says although the cost of car rentals is down, airfare and hotel prices have taken off. Domestic hotels cost 8% more than last year. International hotels are up 18%. And Bankrate says 30% of Americans traveling plan to pay for it with a credit card.
Credit card balances are at a record high, $1.2 trillion, according to the New York Fed.
But there are some ways to cut the cost. Plan ahead and be flexible.
Maybe fly midweek instead of on the weekend, or take an early flight or a late flight or a connecting flight. You know, kind of zig when others zag.
Put in a little planning and shop around. The cheapest beach vacation may be further away. And when it comes to hidden fees, pack what you can carry.
We were even just talking about checking bags and luggage, and so you take as minimal as you can just because everything adds up.
And don't underestimate the staycation, for you don't want your summer fun to end up being a financial fall come winter.
San Francisco's Mission District is now the scene of a new movie that's currently in the works. Check it out. A lot of film crews and security on site, but no sign of any potential Hollywood stars so far there. It's not confirmed what production this is for, but SF Gate is reporting that this could be for The Invite. That's a romantic comedy with Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen. Posts on social media also suggest that they spotted Rogen in the Nob Hill neighborhood. Well, stay tuned. Coming up next, the court design for the Valkyries has several special meanings. We're going to show you the Easter eggs hidden in the hardwood.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Even though it's another warm day for us today here in the Bay Area, nothing compares to what we dealt with just yesterday. Yesterday, we were in the 90s and 80s, widespread throughout the East Bay and the Santa Clara Valley. Today, we're back into the 70s, and we hold on tight to the 70s heading into this weekend's forecast, where we continue to cool down into the low 70s by Sunday with cloudy skies, and then we're back up into the mid 70s into early next week. You make your way over into the Bay, well, same trend, just a little bit cooler when it comes to the temperatures. We'll cool down by Sunday, warm back up into next week.
Well, it is a golden moment in time for the Valkyries. They have their first ever win under their belts. Yeah, the team celebrating in the locker room at Chase Center last night after they beat the Washington Mystics in another sellout game. It's their first franchise win. The fans at Chase Center know that they witnessed history.
Is the post-game celebration everything you've always dreamt it would be?
No, I hate cold water. I was trying to get out of it, but they had me cornered on every space, and they just pushed me in a little circle. But no, I mean, yeah, I got to celebrate it. This is a moment, and I'm very, very happy.
We got the first win for the fans and for our coaches. This is just the beginning.
What was the environment like inside?
It was totally pandemonium. It was great. You had from the young babies all the way up to the seniors, and so us in between.
And the crowd is crazy. It's like more rowdier than the Warrior fans, and we had fun.
Our Kelsey Thorud has been following the Valkyries throughout their inaugural season, and she took a tour of Chase Center to see what makes their new court so special.
The first thing fans will see when they walk into Chase Center this summer is the Valkyries' brand new playing court. It's a design that was months in the making, and one Kimberly Veal, the team's senior vice president of marketing and communications, says holds a plethora of hidden meaning.
We wanted something that was unique, ownable, and that really stood out for the Valkyries.
Starting with the court's signature violet border. No other sports team in the world has this shade of purple as their main color, and that was intentional.
It was important to come out with a bold, strong color that really amplified the story of the Valkyrie.
Also unique, the court's chevron-patterned wood flooring.
This chevron to us leans into the bold, angular features of the brand, and it points in to V's. So when you zoom out and look at it from the bowl, you can see kind of that subtle V pattern throughout the entire court.
In the center of the court lies the team's logo, a nod to both the Valkyrie mascot and the Bay Area.
So overarchingly, the shape is a V for victory for Valkyries. Down the middle, we've got the Bay Bridge, which is the connecting point, the connector between San Francisco, where Chase Center is located, where we play our home games, and the Sephora Performance Center in Oakland, where our team goes to work every day. That's our practice, where they practice, where our front office is headquartered. It also doubles as a sword, which is a common symbol associated with the Valkyries in the mythology. On the sides, you've got 5 slices, which double as the bridge cables and wings. So we know Valkyries can fly. It's one of their superpowers. So building that into the logo was important for us. And then throughout the entire logo, there's 13 lines to represent that we're the 13th team entering the WNBA.
There's also a few additions solely for this inaugural season, including a crest the players will run over every time they sub into a game.
Really just pulling in the strength and power of this brand.
Kimberly told me the goal was to create a bold, memorable look both fans would love to look at and the players would love to play on. She feels like they've succeeded in that. Now it's just time to put this shiny new court to some use.
It's really special to have had such a strong team designing it, the intentionality that went into it. But it's going to be really exciting to see this team come to life on this hardwood.
And you can do so on CBS News Bay Area. We're the home of the Valkyries. More than 30 games are going to air on KPIX and Pix Plus throughout the season. Coming up, we are going to introduce you to a dance team getting ready to join the Carnaval parade for the first time in the group's history. Why they say their tradition is all about making a connection.
My goal is then through dance, through the culture, they can maintain and sustain their identity and feel proud of who they are.
The Carnaval parade is queuing up to take over the streets of San Francisco this Sunday. And this week, we're introducing you to some of the groups that you'll see along the route. Our Max Darrow shows the story of one of those groups whose members have been steeped in the traditions their entire lives.
That's the most important part.
Connection.
Here we go.
Is at the core of Kuikakali. Connection to the rhythm, to the earth below, to one's culture. And this year, Jesus Cortez and his students will get to connect with a crowd they've never had the chance to connect with before.
I always work to bring my culture to the highest point that I can. So to me, it's a fabulous honor to be able to bring this culture, my culture, to San Francisco.
For the first time ever, Cortez and his students will get to perform their Mexican folklorico dance routine in the Carnaval parade.
We have about 50 dancers who is going to be performing with us, and we are super excited to now go and take the streets with Carnaval San Francisco here in the Mission District.
Many of his students have been with him since he started the dance group more than 15 years ago. That includes Fernanda Mercado, who started when she was 5.
Dance is just my passion. It's what I want to do forever.
She says it'll be an honor to perform in the Carnaval parade this year.
It's going to feel amazing. Bring it out first.
And she is especially proud.
You're right.
Of her connection to what you'll see in the Carnaval parade.
I'm really excited to showcase a choreography I'm going to make for one of our Carnaval pieces. That's really exciting for me to be able to choreograph a dance.
My goal is then through dance, through the culture, they can maintain and sustain their identity and feel proud of who they are.
Come parade day, Cortes says Cuica Cali will complement Carnival's colorful collage of cultures.
So it's going to be amazing to be part of the parade.
A new way to connect with the community Cortes is proud to call home.
Viva Carnaval! Viva San Francisco!
And we are going to be bringing you the Carnival Parade live. I'm going to be out there talking to people along the parade route. Our coverage starts Sunday at 10 a.m. on Pix Plus 44 Cable 12, streaming right here on CBS News Bay Area. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your First Alert forecast and another look at your top stories.